Soldiers, sailors, airmen and women enlist in the armed forces for many reasons, including a sense of duty, patriotism, the adventure, travel, and adrenaline. When service members are injured or wounded and can no longer perform their military duties, they quickly find themselves removed from their team, no longer serving the purpose for which they trained.
I came back from Afghanistan in 2013, and it was kind of a trial and error of finding out, after the military, what's next in life.
Motorsports offers an opportunity to regain that sense of identity within a safe, fast-paced team environment, providing a renewed sense of purpose. Like in the military, in motorsports the goal is in accomplishing the mission, winning as a team, collectively celebrating the successes and supporting teammates through the losses. Operation Motorsport also offers virtual engagements and recovery opportunities through an iRacing league, engaging beneficiaries in a safe, competitive environment from the comfort and safety of their home. Operation Motorsport believes in the power of team, identity, and purpose.
Hello, this is Jason with Operation Motorsport. We'd like to introduce you to some of our beneficiaries who were active during the GT World Challenged SRO race at New Orleans Motorsport Park this past weekend.
This weekend I've been working with Steve over on GT4 and with Charlie over on the TC cars, doing the tech inspections for them, checking the ride height, weight, camber, and also the tire pressure and things like that. When they come back from the races, then the top 3 or top 5, depending on the class, have to come through and get everything checked all over again to make sure that they ran the race within the regulations. Sometimes we have to pull some parts and measure those. It all depends on what comes down from the technical director. Operation Motorsport has actually done a lot for me in a really short period of time. It's pretty amazing to feel part of a team again and have some kind of a purpose. It's really, really amazing. And the value for me, at least, it goes way beyond just oh, it's very cool that I'm learning how to do ride height on cars. That is absolutely not the main value for me. You feel like you got some worth, man. Worth something. You know what I mean? I don't know. In here, I feel like I can contribute. I mean, it's not a big contribution, but it doesn't matter. Even in the military, somebody's got to get the food ready. You know what I mean? So I can help here. I can do stuff. I can learn stuff. People are patient. Nobody tells acts like I'm stupid if I ask a silly question. I'm learning. You know, and it feels really nice to be somewhere where I can learn something that I'm actually interested in and feel a part of a team and there's people I can count on, things like that.
Well, I think
so. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's done a lot for me.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the first round of the 6th season of the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League, live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm your host, Rachel Whitefoot, and joined tonight by my colleague in the booth, Rodney Campbell. You'll know him from the track, and our producer this evening, Gary Sexton. Gary is using cameras created by the great Dougie Beard. Welcome back for a 6th season here of this phenomenal series, and we have got 30 minutes of green flag racing coming for you tonight around the hallowed banks of Daytona. We are running, of course, the road course today. Yes, this is GT cars. We're not doing NASCAR. I know it's about that time of year, but we're not doing that yet. No, we're looking forward to a fantastic race as always. Now, if you have forgotten, of course, we run this in multiple classes, although there's a slight tweak this season. We have, of course, got the beneficiaries. They are the people who Operation Motorsport are helping. They are the people benefiting from the programs. We have the open class drivers who are active duty military or veteran or not enrolled in the programs. And we have the pros, and they are competition license holders, past and present, and iRacers with a A-class rating above, I think it's 3.9 or 1900. Let's talk a little bit about Daytona itself. Well, Daytona opened in 1959, and it was originally just racing on a beach. It became the home of American motorsport in a way. A 2.5-mile Florida tri-oval was the leading edge of a wave of construction of the speedways that grew up all around America. And other than a Daytona 500, let's not forget the road course that runs around this hallowed site. And this hosts amazing races like the Rolex 24, which will be coming up very soon to start off the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series, and the AMA Signature Daytona 200 in Bike Week. Let's not forget those. Let's not also forget to talk about who Operation Motorsport are. Operation E Motorsport iRacing League is a structured virtual racing series that brings together beneficiaries, veterans, military members, race car drivers and crew, and other supporters of the Foundation to compete in a friendly virtual sports car racing environment. Operation Motorsport is a veteran-led and operated not-for-profit based in Brighton, Ontario and Raleigh, North Carolina. They serve Canadian and American service members and veterans, and they were founded on the basis of 3 simple words: excite, engage, and empower. The premise is to engage ill and injured service members and veterans affected by military service through motorsport activities to aid in their recovery and rehabilitation. We've got qualifying starting up very soon, or guys are actually starting to get out on the track here as we get ourselves ready to start tonight's race. Rodney, we'll bring you in. Welcome to the booth, of course. It is nice to see you out of the race car and up here with a microphone and dressed nicely. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Rachel. It's fun to be up here. I think it'll be a little different than being actually in the cars tonight, but we'll see how it goes. I'm a former Canadian Forces veteran, served 18 years in the Canadian Army, and got involved with Operation Motorsport probably about 2 years ago with one of their races of remembrance that was done, and sort of have been actively involved in all their seasons. And I think I won the open class a few seasons ago. That was my claim to glory, and it's been all downhill since once I got into the pros. But it's been a fun experience and a great group of guys and a very worthy cause. So I'm excited to be up here in the booth with you, Rachel, and see some exciting racing tonight, because Daytona is one of my favorite tracks to run.
It certainly is one of those fantastic, iconic tracks, and we'll have your expert opinion on the racing and the actual track layout and performance later on as we go through the race, of course. But we do have the cars starting to head out now for our qualifying phase here. Got 10 minutes on the clock here, 4 laps for these drivers to set their fastest time, and we'll see what they can achieve in the race tonight. But Rodney, the series, of course, and not just the e-racing version of the series, but the organization themselves. Obviously, we'll get a chance to talk to Chris Ramirez, who is the director of the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League. We'll get to talk to him about the league and the charity in general, but obviously talk about how motorsport really impacts veterans, people who are coming back with life-changing injuries, and what motorsport in general can do for them. Why is it so important?
Well, because I think, as any sort of veteran knows, or anybody that's been involved in the military knows, that it's like a family. And when, through circumstances, medical or injury, you could no longer participate in that family, that's quite a life-changing experience, especially for people that have dedicated their lives to the service of the country. And motorsport and being involved in a team, just like in the military when you're in a team, whether it's on a ship, on an airfield, or in the army in the field, being involved with other like-minded people with a task to get the best performance out of your team is something that brings back and is a big transition from that military family to maybe a motorsport family, and helps with that transition, and it makes it less maybe abrupt for some that like I said, not through no fault of their own, can no longer participate in that military family. So I think it's important, and it's a good stepping stone out into civilian life and to other things. And some people may stay within the motorsport and love it, but others may move on. But it's a great team building event, and and it helps some of these members transition.
It certainly does. It absolutely has a huge impact. It's that small team environment that is so similar. It makes people feel part of the same, working together to achieve the goal, that makes a big difference. I do have some important news, though, as we start. Of course, if you are previously familiar with this series, you will know about our unofficial inter-service championships. Well, this season was different. We start off with points on the board for all branches. Due to recent events in America and Canada, we're not leaving you guys out of this, everyone has points. So the Air Force obviously gets 5 points for shooting down the big scary balloon. The Navy gets 5 points for helping to recover it. The Army gets 5 points for watching and waving. The Marines, they get 5 points because we're talking to Chris in a bit. They didn't really do anything involved in the balloon. The Coast Guard get 2 points for being supportive, and the Space Force get -5 for not lasering it.
Excellent.
Exactly. No, in all seriousness, we score points unofficially. It's 3 points to a race winners branch, 2 to second places branch, and 1 point to third places branch, and we tot those up over the seasons. It's unofficial. We have a little fun with it. Last season, it was actually tied between the Air Force and the Marines. 8 points was the share. So
how did our friends at the Space Force make it last season?
-10 for existing. Well, no, I believe they tried to launch a rocket and it went upside down, so they lost points for that. It varies. I always find a reason to dock them points, but it's always valid. I believe in Season 4 they were on -100 at the end of the season. They were busy. Either way, qualifying is undergoing. We've got some points on the board already sometimes. Walsh is looking like he's looking strong in the pro class right now. With Martin Wallace and Matt Smotherman, who is a beneficiary, by the way. He is just so fast, he's up there in the pro class. Now, we have some other rankings and positionings. We do have a new qualification of Beneficiary Pro, which is going to be hard to translate on the screens for you, but we'll try and cover that as we go. Some guys have been deemed just too darn fast, and they are technically elevated to a new hybrid class of beneficiary, because we still want to basically celebrate them. They are people being supported by Operation Motorsport, and they are beneficiaries of the programs. And to us, that's important that we talk about them. But we are categorizing beneficiary as 2 classes, Beneficiary and Beneficiary Pro. Now, I do believe if I pull the information, don't mind me, I'm scrolling. We have Scott Andrews, we have Hunter Reeve, and Adam Poppenhaus have moved from Beneficiary to Beneficiary Pro, or Pro Beneficiary. And we have Jesse Elliott from Open to Pro. So those are our changes for Season 4. Now, I believe it will be the GT3s like the pros, but they'll be running green boards and a B, will be the way to tell them. So they're running in the pro class, but they'll have a different colored board on the car. We'll see if we can show you one of those on track if we got one. Leave our poor producer to scramble last second.
Yeah, car 84, Matt.
Matt Smother.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how these drivers do moving up a class, because that's always your reward for doing so well in the class that you were in last season, is that you get promoted to the next class up, and certainly as you go up the order, the
It is.
competition becomes quite more astute, and the times are quite eye-watering. Chris Walsh is putting in some pretty good times here, driving the old Ford around the track.
It is nice to see those Fords returning to the track, of course. I've been quite pleased to see them. There was a few seasons we didn't see the Ford GT here in these categories, so it is good to see it return. A fantastic car, an iconic vehicle, in fact. In fact, that's the old Ford.
Yeah, that's the old.
Wow, I just realized that is the old
original GT3 version of the Ford. So it's almost
wow,
almost an antique driving around the course here today.
it's time
But
travel.
you wouldn't know it the times that Chris is putting down.
No, you would not. I didn't realize that at first. My mind was like, that's a Ford GT when I looked at the screen, and it didn't process that we have the new Ford GT, of course, which is a different category. Mm-hmm. That is a GTE car, I believe. And this is the GT3 one, which is the old school Ford GT. Not the very oldest, but the previous generation, we should say.
It's been around in iRacing for a while, and it's because it's so old, it hasn't really. It's kind of lost popularity.
It is indeed. Well, let's go to our grid for the starting order, and nipping him at the last second, proving just how fast Mr. Beneficiary Pro is Matt Smotherman, who puts it on pole today at Daytona, with Chris Walsh in second, Martin Wallace in third, Ed Nelson fourth, Jesse Elliott in fifth, Gabriel Albano in the seventh spot. We have Taylor Parsons in eighth and Adam Poppenhouse in ninth. Andrews is 10th, and 11th Chris Ramirez, who's not racing. He always joins for some reason. Then in Beneficiary, we have Greg Meismer, we have Brock Hogan, we have Matt Ayotte, who's new, we have Philippe Chartier, we have Ryan Hoover, we have Josh Schneider, and we have Elliot Whitfield and Brian Knight. In the open category, we have Bradley Beeman, Thomas Utzon, we have Robert Gregori, Tyler Beeman, Nick Milaranio, Kyle Smith, Brian Winker, Rick Haslett, and Felipe Carrillo. That is our grid starting today. Went to a little bit of a different order. We went by class rather than order to keep you all on your toes. But as we line up here, it is a rolling start, of course, and the back straight will go through the bus stop here, Rodney. And then just talk me through as we start to roll here. The thoughts going through a driver's head as you go behind the pace car here to that rolling start.
Well, I think everybody's thoughts are get through the bus stop without hitting other cars as you go behind the pace car, but then it's thoughts turn to turn one and how you're going to get through there safely and onto the infield. If you can maneuver your car through there safely, you're well on your way to a good race. So we'll see how these cars manage that. I'm confident that everybody will behave themselves and we'll have a good start here. And obviously, you want to keep the draft. The draft is so important on this course. And if you can keep in touch with the leaders and keep it within their draft, even though you may be a little bit slower, the draft helps you and keep you up the pace with them. So let's see how these guys do.
We certainly will. They start rolling here, and we're going through the bus stop now for the first time today, and it is. 5:20 in the evening, so it was not going to go to darkness in this one, but we're in that early evening hours, the golden hours here at Daytona, which are honestly my favorite hours in endurance racing, whether it's the morning or the evening. Those golden hours on the racetrack are some of the best racing. Just the sun glinting off the cars, that color in the sky. It's just endurance racing to me.
Yeah, and track temperature is 73 degrees, so it's relatively cool. So we should be seeing some. We saw some good times in the qualifying, and we'll see some good racing here tonight.
We will indeed. Well, the pace car's about to dive down to pit road here to kick off season 6 of Operation eMotorsport iRacing, and we will get ourselves going here, leaving the field under the control of Matt Smotherman and Chris Walsh and his bird trying to flap alongside. We'll see what happens as they come in, and we get ready to roll here. The green flag waiting to be thrown and kick off a whole new season. Green flag flies. It's a big jump there by Smotherman as he runs to the line behind them. Meismer and the beneficiaries in open classes, they're rolling as well behind. This big dive here into the braking zone for turn 1. Although it's not really 1, it's more like 2 here, isn't it, Rodney, where they're really having to put the hammers down.
Yep, they're coming in there nicely, filing in. Looks like everybody's behaving themselves.
That's a good start. It's an important part.
Good start.
Yeah, it's a great start to a season when everyone manages the first 2 corners. Okay, we talked too soon.
You talked too soon.
Yep. Whoops, that happened. Mistakes will occur. That was the old international, I believe it was, Adam Poppenhaus, unfortunately. His first run into the pro category. And that was in the Rodriguez International Horseshoe where that happened. Just got a little bit of a touch, and round he went. We'll show you that on the screen now. In fact, it was the solo car, isn't it, I believe? No, he got a bit of a love tap from behind. That was the 333 machine of Andrews, who also moved up. And, 8 wheels do brake better than 4, but only for one of you.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's too much damage on his machine. Hopefully he can gather it up and get her back in the hunt.
Hopefully he will. Let's take a look back behind him towards the beneficiaries, of course. And it is Meismer leading Ben and open categories in the GT4 cars. A decent lead here of Bradley Beeman, who's drafting right behind him. The moment you talked about how important that draft is. Brock Hogan is in 4th there, just behind Thomas Utzon. Utzon and Beeman have always been strong contenders in the open category here, Rodney. Hoping to see the same again.
Yes, absolutely. You can see them weaving through the bus stop there, a very important part of the track, getting onto this longest straight of the track. Even though it's a corner in NASCAR racing, it's pretty much a straight here for the road racers, all the way past the start-finish line into the turn 1, turn 2.
Absolutely is, and seeing
the draft here is certainly can play a part, and this is where the most of the passing will take place.
It is indeed. A lot of the BMWs we're seeing in the GT4 category here, they seem to be a strong choice right now. Our leader is really being hounded by them, in fact. He seems to be one of the few Aston Martins out there, followed by a horde of angry BMWs. This is awkwardly reminiscent of France 1940.
These GT4 cars are a real hoot to drive around here, and they're very lively. The setups the cars are using today is a low downforce setup as well, so that's going to make the cars a little more skittish here on the infield as they go through here.
Of course, that's a compromise you have to make, really, at a track like Daytona, with so much flat out on the banking time. That low downforce setup is very important for these drivers to maximize that lap time and compromise in the slower corners and hope your mechanical will carry you through, correct?
Absolutely, because as you come through the bus stop and into the bus stop and out of the bus stop, you're fighting that low downforce, but once you're onto that straight, you want a little amount of draft as possible so that you can suck up behind that car in front of you and hopefully slingshot past.
Very important for them. Meismer still leading that grouping at the moment with Beeman, Outzen, Hogan, and other Beeman.
Yeah, it's very important for these.
And Tyler.
Yeah, very important for these cars not to lose the draft of the lead car here. So they're all trying to keep in tight here. Maybe biding their time, saving a little fuel when you're in behind as well, and waiting for that opportunity to make the pass. But you don't want to get the cars too far in front of you, or else you'll lose that draft.
A little bit of action for the lead here. The cars of Walsh and Smotherman duking it out right now. Walsh is ahead, but Matt Smotherman is not letting him go. They were side by side through the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, but now running down towards the old Horseshoe. We're seeing him trailing just behind here, but I've got to say there's an active threat still on the track. We've got the Ford GT being chased down by the Porsche, and Smotherman may have sacrificed the lead for the time being, but not exactly the worst idea around Daytona, being second for most of the race, correct?
No, and we've seen that many times when it comes down to the end. It's sometimes being a close second going on the last lap can be advantageous to make that draft and dash for the finish line. So we'll have to see how this plays out. There's lots of strategies involved here. But right now, the top 4 pros are saying pretty much nose to tail here, all within the draft, and just trying to size each other up and wait for their opportunities.
Exactly what we're seeing. But as they stand, just trying to hold their ground. I think it's like Elliott just behind them, though, is making a move here on the car below him. I think that's Wallace down there. It is. So we've got Martin Wallace and Jesse Elliott there side by side here through most of 3 and 4. Now across the line, it'll be Elliott scored ahead at the line, I think. No, it's Wallace technically, but they are so close. And big braking wobble there for the Lamborghini. There's up the inside, nearly a touch there, in fact, Rodney, as they came through 3.
Yeah, they were thinking about it, that's for sure. Wallace and
that'd be Elliott as well.
Elliott, yeah, they're both side by side through that section there. You saw Elliott pop his nose out in that BMW and on the straight, and he just didn't seem to have the top end speed to get that pass done. So it'll be interesting to see how he approaches this on the next straight. And as these guys fight, you can see that the leaders are taking a little bit of a stretch on him here and getting a little more pace ahead of them.
Back towards your beneficiary class, we've got contact with your race leader who dropped to second place. Greg Meismer, I believe that's Thomas Utzon, just behind him, who collided with him going into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, a mirror image of what happened to Poppenhaus. Outbraked himself, spun him around. Feels like I'm watching a carbon copy of lap 1 there. Dumped into only a little bit of rear end damage. But it's track position lost.
Ooh.
And that's a class leader taken out.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It absolutely is unfortunate.
It's tough when you get close racing like that. Sometimes the car in front maybe backs up his braking because of the car in front of him, and you get a sort of a bit of a chain reaction. Or sometimes you get distracted by cars around you, and then, whoops, I missed my braking zone, and then you're into the back car in front of you.
An unfortunate circumstance we like to try and avoid, of course, but markedly a racing incident in both these cases. One of those moments of just misjudging something rather than intent, which is important, of course, as that does change our landscape slightly. Up front, Brock Hogan is going to now be scored ahead of Greg Meismer once we get back around the line. Meismer's still going to be roughly second place. He is ahead of Matt Ayotte still. Not by a lot on the 22 car, but he will be ahead still. Towards the front, it is still going to be Smotherman and Walsh. Smotherman is still trailing. Not trying really hard to get around him, as we're seeing so far, just running those laps.
Yeah, it's a long race. Well, even though it's only a 30-minute race, it's a long race, and I think there's lots of strategy being employed here. There's no sense in running to the front only to have everybody else pass you on the last lap. So,
now clarify for me a second, Rodney. We are running 40% fuel. Is that going to force a pit stop in a 30-minute race?
Yes, it will. About 20 minutes in is what they've got for fuel. So anywhere after about 10 minutes in, the pit window should be opening here fairly soon, pretty much now. And any time between now and that 20-minute mark, you should start to see some pit stops. And it'll be interesting to see if we have people coming in pairs, right? You don't want to lose that draft, so the car in front goes in, you want to try and dive in too. But sometimes people get a little cute and they try and deke their way into the pits at the last minute, trying to lose that guy behind. So we'll see what happens here over the next 10 minutes or so as the pit window is open.
I think that's a habit of road racers, is wanting to kind of break that draft and take track position and do the solo pit stop, not realizing that at tracks like Daytona you have to think like an oval racer to an extent. But we are going to see traffic very soon. I think we're starting to see the leaders here beginning to catch up, but behind them Elliott and Wallace side by side there, third and fourth for the pro category. It's still going to be the 25 machine trailing. Oh no, Wallace is actually ahead of Elliott, I should say, after that side by side into 1 and 2. Getting themselves through the corner there, as behind your leaders, who are still very much static in their positioning. Back towards Beeman and Outzen. Beeman is clear by reasonable margin here over now Brock Hogan in second place over Thomas Utzon. I've got those two together there with Robert Grigori and Tyler Beeman, Kyle Smith, Nick Milaranio, and Meismer all the way back there, but he is still ahead of third, so it is still net second.
Yeah, it looks like Beamham has created a little bit of a space behind him, so he's broken that draft and he's on his own out there. So let's see if this pack behind him can gather themselves up and cooperate and catch up. That's sometimes what you have to do on this track.
It's something we'll hope to see, a little bit of momentary mental flippy doodles as one guy's connection not being quite as strong as he would like it to be, but then making it work at the moment as through they'll come. 14 minutes on the clock almost elapsed here for us tonight as... You know what? No, I'm looking at the wrong clock here. We have 11 minutes on the clock, I should say, out of our 30-minute race. And this window is now open by a good moment or so here. So between now and the next 9 minutes, we'll start to see that pit cycle occurring, which will be interesting to see when people go. I'm expecting it will be at 20 minutes or so. Rodney, there's no real need to come in sooner, with it being one.
No, typically people wait to the very end and to pit unless there's some other reason why they might want to try and come in a little earlier. But we'll see. Obviously, if you're the trailing car here, like Thomas is here trailing in behind, you can do quite a bit of lifting in this draft and save fuel, and you can actually gain yourself a lap of fuel by doing that. Now, in 20 minutes, whether they'll be able to gain that full lap, I'm not sure. But the more fuel they can save here is less fuel they have to put in their pit stop. And certainly they can do a pass in the pits if they can have a faster pit time because they're putting in less fuel. So that's all part of the strategy as well. When you're running out front, like you see Beeman there, you're using all your fuel, max fuel, because you've got no help, no draft, and you're burning more fuel. So he's going to have to put in more fuel than maybe some of these cars in behind that are drafting. So.
Absolutely right. Well, looking at how things are shaking out, not a lot of change in positioning at the moment on the track. So we'll keep our eyes on how this will play forwards. Drivers all just logging those laps at the moment as we come towards the halfway point in this race. About 2 minutes away from that. And wow, it's flown by already. Isn't time one of those things that flies when you're having fun? I think is the best way to put it. Bradley Beeman leading the open category right now. Chris Walsh leading the pro. And Matt Smotherman leaving our beneficiary pro up there in the 84. So technically a different race to Chris Walsh, but it's not really. Just like we saw in the beneficiaries in the open class last year, Rodney. They're the same car. They're racing each other.
Exactly. They don't differentiate themselves, that's for sure. And Matt's doing a really good job here, sticking right on the nose of Chris.
He absolutely is. Looking forward from Thomas Utzon there. That would be...
Thomas just got a little loose on the exit of the bus stop there, and that's easy to do, especially with the low downforce cars and the way he goes into the wall.
A little bit of commentator's curse there. I do apologize for that one.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It'll unfortunately happen. He got loose on the
That's not the first time for you, Rachel, is it?
Oh no, it is regular.
I've noticed in the past.
I'm precision GPS guided munitions right here. I can target a car and cause it to spin out. It is an art form. I apologize to the drivers and Thomas in this case. I'm very sorry. But guess what? You can pull in if you pit stop now. You won't lose too much. He's mobile still.
His pit window is open, so he won't lose time there pitting twice, but his car is looking pretty sad, but he'll get a refreshed car if he can make it to the pit row.
I think he'll make it just fine. It's smoking quite a bit, but he will make it down there. Obviously, we're here for fun, so there are spare cars for the drivers to hop into and keep going. We want them on track, enjoying themselves and taking part in this team work event environment. It's not about, you'll be screwed up, you're out, bye. There's no enjoyment in that for anybody. So he'll get that car replaced and get back out here. He'll be down a lap, I believe, based on our leaders right now, but not on his class. But we're starting to see some of the cars start to head towards pit road. Just beneficial he gets to do that whilst he fuels. It would have been awkward if it had been outside his window.
Yeah, no, he won't lose too much time, but he'll definitely be down the order as we cycle through all the pit stops.
Yep, cars starting to head onto pit road now, and we will cover that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we just saw Tyler Gillimet come down the pit road early here, so maybe that's part of his strategy.
It might well be, yeah. We will cover those pit stops in a moment. Well, you'll see them as it's happening as we head to our beneficiary driver spotlight for the night. And that is for race number 1, Gregory Meismer. In fact, you're going to get a double dose of Marines tonight, so I hope you like Marines. You've got 2 of them coming up. The first one, Gregory. He was a U.S. Marine for over 3 years as a C-130 flight mechanic with VMGR 234. Unfortunately, a medical discharge ended his career early, and these days he's hosting a motorsports podcast called Into the Paddock, and counting the days until the next IMSA event, where he'll be activated via Opmo to work with the 59 Core Motorsports Mustang. He found Operation Motorsports after his ZFG Racing teammate Martin Wallace told him about the program just before Season 5. And reading more about it, he realized it was the perfect thing for him, and he made a decision to activate in real life with the program outside of the sim racing events. And he went to his first event at the 2013 Rolex 24, which is here at Daytona. And he says he could not be happier. So there's Gregory Meismer, today's beneficiary driver spotlight. Well, from one Marine to another Marine as we get our cars heading down pit road in quite fast order here. A lot of the pros heading down pit road, including your leaders. Although Matt Smotherman stayed out. Walsh pitted with the others. Interesting call here. Matt stayed with it. He's got other traffic around him who might pit, but he's not with his own field. Interesting deviation from your call there, Robbie.
I think he was saving fuel, and that's probably part of his strategy. Maybe he thinks he can undercut here in the pits. We'll have to see next lap when he comes around and where he comes out.
It is. Well, like I said, from one Marine to another jarhead, we have Chris Ramirez here, the eMotorsports Program Manager for Operation Motorsports. Chris, it is a pleasure to have you with us again.
Hi, Rachel, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Welcome back to another exciting season of Operation Motorsports eMotorsport League.
So first off, what do we have coming up that you're excited about this season for Operation eMotorsport?
Oh boy, geez. So I'm probably really excited that we've added a few new laps. We've decided to go a bit more international. So you'll see Suzuka pop up on the schedule as well as Zolder. That's my personal favorite. And then, of course, the big one is we're planning a pretty exciting event with PCA. We'll start in Sebring and end up in Le Mans for a nice big fundraising event.
Let's not forget, last season we raised $11,000 to go towards Operation Motorsport in partnership with PCA there with the two series. So let's see if we can do better this year. We hope we do. In fact, we're going to try and do exactly that. Chris, Operation Motorsport itself, obviously you're very tied into those guys. You are on the esports side of things, but what can you tell us about what is ahead this year for the charity as a whole?
Oh, there's a lot of really exciting things happening. Towards the end of last season, I'm sure everybody kind of caught wind that we have a bit of a partnership with CrowdStrike now. And so the opportunities that are being afforded to us there are going to help us professionalize quite a bit more and help us grow the organization and get a lot more outreach and really try to help out a lot more veterans the way that we have been. The other thing too is just really the excitement of the upcoming seasons. We have a lot of new beneficiaries coming in and a lot of new people are going to be activating, and really excited to see them going out to the track. Personally, I'm super excited that Code is back on the SRO docket, because now I'm going to get to meet some of these Opmo people in real life, because I've only ever met 2 of them.
Well, hopefully you'll get to meet quite a lot of them in the real world. It's an important thing to... It's always amazing to meet online friends in real life, because it feels like you've met a random person, but you're already fast friends. It's the strangest feeling in the world.
It really is.
But Chris, obviously you yourself are a military veteran. We talked to Rodney already. We've just seen our beneficiary spotlight from a fellow jarhead. Tell us about yourself a little bit and how you found Operation Motorsport.
Yeah, so I was really looking for some...
1 second, Chris. Matt Smotherman is in on pit road. That is our leader now, heading down pit road solo. We'll see how this works out for him. Go ahead, Chris.
Matt's pretty good at strategy if y'all haven't figured it out. He's I think him and Chris are going to have a nice little battle up here soon. But yeah, you know, I really kind of rediscovered my passion for cars and motorsport. Ironically enough, it was the Ken Block videos, the Gymkhana videos, that really got me into it. So, you know, him passing away earlier this year was a pretty big bummer. But, you know, seeing all of that and then getting back into motorsport and just kind of watching things, and then joining PCA and PCA folks really got me into sim racing. I kind of wanted to find something that aligned motorsports and veterans, and I found Operation Motorsport. Talked to Jason, and Jason got me involved on the e-motorsport side as a beneficiary, and then one day I offered a little bit of help, and Jason decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to make you do more work. But it worked out, right?
In things like this, just like in the military world, showing competence usually involves getting you more work.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, always be mediocre. Just be average. It is the safest and easiest life you can have. But no, obviously you do incredible work here with the sim racing series, and obviously this was a big thing during lockdown and during the last couple of years. Obviously that is evolving as we leave that time period behind us, thank gosh. But what is Operation eMotorsport doing to adapt to the return to the real world as well as the sim racing world? Are you keeping people? Are you trying to grow in different ways? Is this going to become kind of an interactive thing between the two worlds? Obviously, as something that I can't understate how much this esports series helped with a charity like this, supporting veterans and people who feel disconnected from that world, to keep them part of that family, to keep them part of that teamwork environment, whilst everyone had to be alone. Was so important. But how is it changing as we return to normal, or the new normal?
I mean, you know, the crazy part is, I thought we were going to see a lot less participation as things started to open up, and that was a little true, but it wasn't as drastic as I would have assumed. And I think it feels like sim racing has really picked up, and it's become a lot more popular. You know, back in the day, it used to be just the GT Academy stuff with Gran Turismo and a lot of other little programs like that, but nothing really, really fleshed out like what we have now. And I think that's really drawn in a lot of people, and people seeing professional race car drivers, drop into the sim and start racing, and being able to race along them is really encouraging a lot of people to stick with this instead of just hanging off on the side. I think Nissan and Sony had a great idea. They had the right idea back in the day by doing that academy, because there really is application to both of these in real life, and I think that's where we're going to see most of the traction, or most of the where we're going to be the most stable is in sim racing in general. But really what I want to try to do is we want to continue to grow this program. There's an obvious and very real value to providing this to our veterans and giving them the environment to racing that we do, and being able to continue to program and grow it out and provide more opportunities. So like last year we kind of prototyped it. We did a pilot program where we had a bunch of beneficiaries joining with some others and enter some of the bigger team races, and they loved it. And so we want to continue to do that, and hopefully get more information, get us out there a little bit more by having people go out and join and race as a team Operation Motorsport in some of the bigger endurance races.
Absolutely, of course. I think a lot of people realized during lockdown that this isn't just a video game.
Yeah.
This is a hobby, because it's like having a motor racing hobby. I've always tried to describe iRacing or sim racing in general to non-sim racers who just see it as a game. It's another game. It's a racing game. No, it's a cheaper racing hobby, because it is not cheap. Don't get me wrong. Between the gear, the sim rigs, the equipment, the computers, the subscription stuff, to get the level of service you get from iRacing, it is just a cheaper motorsports hobby. It's an accessible hobby, and you can have that fixed whenever you want, which is very, very attractive. So obviously it'll keep a lot of people, but we don't want to keep you for too long tonight, Chris. Obviously you've got a lot of work coming up tonight, and we're coming up towards our last 5 minutes of the race. One final but most important question. Now, we doled out points at the start for the branches and their involvement in the Great Balloonscapade. of 2023. Obviously, we gave the Marines 5 points for participation. Did they do anything else other than kind of stand there and show support, or?
In typical Marine fashion, we all sat back and laughed at everybody else as they scrambled to do things when we realized that there wasn't really anything that needed.
Yeah, basically that. That's about right for the Marines. Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure. Hopefully talk to you again soon during the season. And we'll let you go, of course. Chris Ramirez, folks, he is the program manager for Motorsports here at Operation Motorsports. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers.
Okay, Rodney, back to the racing, of course. We saw some pretty tight racing here between Matt and Chris, as Matt came out ahead of Chris after his solo pit call. We thought it might be a bit dodgy, but no, he kept that lead there. He actually opened it a bit, but with the draft, Chris has caught up, but he's ahead of him at least, and he's not slowing down.
Yeah, no, he executed that undercut to perfection. He saved the fuel. He saved that extra lap of fuel. He came out quite a bit ahead of Chris on the when he came out of the pits, probably close to a second ahead of him. But Chris has closed it up with that draft and is right on his tail. And so now Chris, I think, is sizing up his opportunities when it's right to make that move for the checkered flag, and he may just wait right in here behind. I've seen him, use that draft and come up beside Matt at the start-finish, and maybe he's just testing the waters here for that exciting dash for the checkered at the end. So we'll see how that plays out. But Matt executed the strategy. He's out front where he wants to be. Whether that's the right move in the end, we're gonna have to wait and see.
We'll have to find out, of course, as we come towards the end of this. It's going to be a tight run, as alluded to earlier by Chris and others, that Matt and Chris could be very close in this one as we come towards the end. Towards Beneficiary Open, though, Bradley Beeman has a big gap over Robert Grigori in second there, Tyler Beaumont in third, Nick Milarano in fourth, all very spread out. Greg Meismer has recovered. He is back to the lead here of your beneficiary category here. Matt Smother, of course, leading the pro beneficiary. But Matt Aote is in the second spot for that, with Poppenhouse climbing back up the list. He's still last, unfortunately, of the pros and pro ben, but he's up there. And then Philip Chartier is in the third spot for the beneficiary field. So the beneficiaries and GT4s in the Open, they're all a little spread out here. We've really got this one fighting up here in pro, though. Nelson is kind of lonely in third. Wallace there is a tight fight.
We just had some excitement at the lead there. Matt just dodged a lap car and almost went off the track here, but they gathered it back up. In the International Horseshoe, that was...
Oh, yes.
Here we go.
We had another moment there. Albano just went round after nearly outbreaking himself into the back there of the 13 machine. Actually, no, it was Albano there. It was the 25 of Elliott that spun himself out. He was right up there behind.
Oh,
it gets a bit worse. Oh, it gets shuffly towards the come into the corner. And a little bit of dirt on those wheels, and I think he went around. It was actually not that moment. That was a different car entirely. That was Matt Smotherman and Chris Walsh. But behind them, Albano and Elliott had their own little dance in the corner onto the tri-oval there. As we were the car turned around in the bus stop. That is the 82 machine. Not the 082, the 82 of Brian Knight. Unfortunately, Papa Knight was facing the wrong way in his Mercedes.
Yeah, after all that excitement, though, the leaders have come out in the same order. So no harm, no foul, as they say in baseball.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know much about baseball, but I do know something about cricket, so I'll assume it's very much the same thing. As up towards the sharp end again, Smotherman and Walsh, they are running together pretty well. Nelson is running lonely. Again, pretty quiet behind them, but we have got Grigori there and the 082, who is leading this thing at the moment. Then behind him, the 91 of Beeman. Beeman looking to try and make that move, but we see them group up here as well with their leader, Bradley Beeman. For the top spots there. We'll have to see what will come from that open class fight as well.
The time is ticking down here as well, so we should be getting the white flag probably this time by, I'm thinking. And then we're going to see if what Chris is going to do, whether he's going to try and take the lead in the last lap or take the lead at the checkered flag.
I think it'll be a lead for the checkered flag. It's the standard Daytona move to end a race here. They're going to most likely catch.
He's just sizing him up here for that final.
No,
move,
we're checkered flag, I think, this time by. We're 2 seconds on the clock, so this should be our checkered flag lap here. So I don't think he's close enough. Matt Smotherman has enough of a lead. The gap is big enough. I don't think he will actually make it.
No, Matt got a really good push off the bus stop there, so it's going to be tough for Chris to make up that ground.
A real competition this season in Pro, in the GT3 cars, I should say, between Pro and Pro Ben here. As Matt Smotherman, it's a big launch by Chris Walsh. Is it going to be close enough? It will not be close enough. As Matt Smotherman comes across the line, just maintaining the lead there. That was closer than even I expected. Followed by the likes of Ed Nelson, Martin Wallace, Gabriel Urbano, Tyler Guillemette, Jesse Elliott, Scott Andrews, and Taylor Parsons there. And then Bradley Beeman, along with Robert Grigori and Tyler Beeman, will come for the open class here. 1, 2, and 3. 2 Beemans, or a pair of beams, we'll call them, coming home in first and third the way they're running currently, and the gaps are still pretty big there, so I think this will be our order here. And Meisman looking solid for the beneficiary class.
Yeah, he just couldn't get that last move done on the last lap. Sometimes you wait to the very last lap and think you can make that move, and then you just don't quite get the run off the bus stop that you needed to make it happen. That's the problem with that strategy sometimes, is that you've got to make it happen on the last lap, and we saw that both Chris and a few others just couldn't get it done. So very interesting end of the race here tonight, Rachel.
It really is, Rodney, as last of our cars still coming across the line here. No battles left on track that we can see at the moment. It is, other than Chartier and Winker right now, back in your rear of the field. Actually, it's going to be Haslett and Chartier there, open and beneficiary in the GT4 cars. Just wait for these guys to come to the line. We'll see what will happen. It's for car position, but it's going to actually be Haslett that will take this one as he comes around the top, just nicking that one in the last moment there. We went to a quick commercial break. We'll be back with your post-race results and your interviews. Don't go anywhere.
On Remembrance Veterans Day weekend, November 2022, Operation Motorsport is returning to Anglesey Circuit, Wales, United Kingdom, to compete in the 12-hour Race of Remembrance. This event allows our beneficiaries to compete as a team, shoulder to shoulder, with other veterans and racers. We want to use this opportunity to honor your hero service. And for a $25 donation, we will place your hero's name on the hood of our race car. 100% of the donations received will be used to support our Race of Remembrance operation. Help us honor 500 heroes and donate today.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn them. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Welcome back to Operation E Motorsport iRacing here at Daytona and the end of round one. We'll go straight to your post-race results here. And it was pro beneficiary, the new class, Matt Smotherman, who put his stamp on the pro category here over Chris Walsh in second, Ed Nelson in third, Martin Wallace in the fourth spot with Gabriel Albano in fifth, Tyler Guillemette in sixth, Jesse Elliott in seventh, Scott Andrews, Taylor Parsons there, Adam Poppenhaus leading up your field. Behind them in the open category is Bradley Beeman with Robert Grigori, Tyler Beeman, Nick Milaranio, Kyle Smith, Felipe Carrillo, Brian Winker, Rick Haslett, and Thomas Utzon. For the beneficiaries, it was Greg Meismer, it was Matt Aote, it was Philip Chartier, and Elliot Whitfield. Behind them, Ryan Hoover, Brian Knight, and Brock Hogan. And with that, it is first up time to have a quick chat to Matt Smotherman. He won the race and was our leading beneficiary pro. Matt, a new title and a new win.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
It certainly was. A crazy run here for you. Good duking there with Chris Walsh we saw at the front, and a different strategy play to him.
Yeah, I was watching that, and with all the GT4 traffic that he and I were about to approach, he went ahead and pitted in a little bit early to hopefully make sure that I got hung up on there. And fortunately, things just worked out for me. Making it through that traffic didn't hold me up enough, and so the pit strategy ended up working out in my favor.
It certainly did, of course, and a new season, new start. You were up in pro before. Are you planning to sweep this one this season?
I'll do the best that I can, but with people like Chris and Tyler and pretty much everyone in the field, there's so much talent in there. I would be shocked and appalled if I actually managed to sweep something this season. But you never know. I'll do my best.
Wonderful. And are we going to see your brother back in the series?
I hope so. He's with the Texas National Guard, and he is currently activated down on the border. But he transported his sim rig into his little hotel room that he has there. So there might be a chance that we see a Mason Smotherman sometime this season.
Oh, we look forward to seeing him, even if he is slumming it in a hotel room on the border.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us, Matt. Congratulations on the win. Anybody like to give a shout out to or thank?
Shout out to you and everyone in Operation Motorsport for putting this thing on. I missed this, and I missed racing with this great community. It's just so much fun. So shout out to every one of you.
Well, we love having you here. So thank you for joining us, Matt, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have Gregory Meismer, who is standing by with Rodney Campbell for his first ever interview.
Hi, Greg. How are you? Congratulations on your win in the beneficiary class tonight. You were sporting the Aston Martin tonight, and it did well for you.
Yeah, I did. It's a car I'm very familiar with. Won the championship last year in it, so I figured why not.
Cool. How was the racing tonight? How did you find that car in the draft? And were you able to keep ahead of the cars in front of you because of some drafts? Did you maybe were able to pick up along the way?
The BMWs were crazy in the draft. I didn't have too much luck with it. I kind of ended up in some weird spots because I got kind of mixed up early up in the race. But yeah, the car felt great. It just, like I said, the BMWs were crazy fast in the draft.
And are you feeling pretty confident going into the next races here in the series?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm putting in some work in the off season, and it seems to have paid off.
Absolutely. You were the class of the field tonight. Anybody you'd like to shout out to and thank for your...
Martin Wallace and Kyle Smith are my ZFG teammates, so I'd like to thank them. PTSD Foundation of America, I'd like to thank them also, and Operation Motorsports as a whole. It's been great.
Excellent, and we look forward to maybe chatting some more as the season progresses. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Well, that was the US Marine Corps' Gregory Meismer coming home with a win in beneficiary today, and I believe we have Matt Aote coming home in second place today. Matt, great first race here and second in the beneficiary class. Fantastic.
Yep. It felt pretty good. There was a lot more grip than there was when we were doing practice, so I'm pretty happy with the results. I was expecting a sixth place, so sixth place in the GT4s was where I was hoping to be. and moved up one spot from qualifying.
Well,
Set me up.
certainly, at least a solid result in your first race. This is your first with the series, correct?
Yeah, I've been with iRacing since about a year now. So this is my first series with Operation Motorsports in season 6. So yeah.
Do you want to tell the viewers anything about your military past at all?
Well, I was in the Canadian Armed Forces. I retired in 2018. My trade was a combat engineer, and when upon my release, I found that I had a lot of problems transitioning, and Operation Motorsports opened itself up as an opportunity, and I got on board with doing as a beneficiary and doing real life track events with Tooth Autosports up in Calabogie here in Ontario, Canada. And they gave me an opportunity to really enjoy the process of being crew on a very professional and driven team. And so they set me up with a basic simulator, a nice G27 old school steering wheel. And from then on, I've been enjoying the opportunity to race and take part in activities with the other beneficiaries, most of whom we just experienced Race of Remembrance with up in Wales.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see a lot more of you as the season progresses, Matt. And congratulations tonight on the second place. Anybody you'd like to especially shout out or say thank you to?
Well, big one is I lost a co-driver from when I did rally racing back in the day, a year ago, Jeannie McGillivray, and her husband's watching me. He's been coaching me, so thank you, Jim, and I look forward to the next race in the season.
Thank you for joining us. It's Matt Ayotte, yes?
Just Matthew Ayotte.
Ayotte, okay, Matthew Ayotte. Well, thanks for joining us, Matthew Ayotte, coming home today in second place.
Thank you very much.
Well, last but not least, it's Philip Chartier coming up here to have a chat to Rodney. Take it away.
Hi, Philip. Congratulations on your podium tonight. We didn't see a lot of highlights from your race tonight, but you were just steadily plugging away. How did it feel out there tonight?
Well, it was actually kind of nice out there, and just being a little quiet, and being consistent as I have over the last couple of years has finally paid off.
That's right. We're used to seeing sometimes a little more excitement out of your racing tonight, and tonight was pretty calm, and you were rewarded with that result. So does that bode well for you? Do you think going into the rest of the series?
I really hope so. Went into the race thinking after seeing the qualifying times, I was going to be fighting for the last. So kind of surprised at the finish, but it was nice being consistent, trying a new car with the BMW. Usually I've done the Porsche in the past, but hoping to hear the Navy name called more this year.
Excellent. We heard from some of the other drivers about the BMWs being really great in the draft. How did you find it tonight when you're in behind other cars?
Yeah, I didn't get to draft too much. I was kind of on my own most of it, but the few times I was behind someone, I definitely find that it grabs pretty nicely.
Excellent. And so we're looking forward to seeing you the rest of the way in the series. Do you have anybody do you want to shout out and thank?
Well, of course, I can definitely want to thank Chris and the rest of the OPMO organization for giving me this to look forward to and having something to actually work towards again. Definitely got to shout out the wife. She deals with me and all my stuff and allows me to do things like this.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you the rest of the way. So that's Philip Chartier representing the Navy tonight and on the podium and third place in the beneficiary class.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Philip there, and big thank you to my co-host tonight, Rodney Campbell. His first time, and I think he did rather well. So thank you, Rodney. We hope to have you back in the future. And of course, thank you to the series partners of Operation E-Motorsport iRacing League, iRacing, and the USO of North Carolina. For Jason Leach, Diesel Loader, Chris Ramirez, and the entire Operation Motorsports team, for Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore at Podium Esports, camera builder Dougie Beard, our producer Gary Sexton, Cameron Oberon on social media, and for my colleague this evening, Rodney Campbell, I am your host, Rachel Whiteford. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the Operation E-Motorsport iRacing League. We wish you a good night, and we will see you next week at Zolder.